Good morning, folks. This is Greg Judy at Green Pastures Farm. Today I'm showing you the results of rain. Everything had stopped growing. Hadn't had any rain. We had 3/10 in 2 months, basically March and April. And then we got it. The drought broke, and we ended up with 4.5 inches over about 12 days. And it's just amazing. I'm looking for cracks. I can't find any more cracks in the ground. They've closed up. The clovers are starting to crank. We've got white clover coming up the ladino. Here's a hop clover. There's 3 names for that plant. The old Rucker people called it fool's clover. Dad called it Japanese clover. And I believe the correct term for it is hop clover. But it's a really nice little legume. It comes on first part of May, and it'll be done by June 12th, June 15th. But it puts on a lot of growth with rain. It's going to start cranking. I saw some the other day. We turned the bulls into a paddock, and it was nuts. It was probably 8 to 9 inches tall, and those bulls went right to it. This is a pretty poor old farm when we got it. It doesn't look that way anymore. This was all thorn trees, solid thorns. And they were big trees, and we cut them. And the stumps finally started to rot out, and then Johnny finished them off with his skid steer. But there were thorn trees in here that were 2 foot diameter. Big thorns. This is our old Quonset barn. This has got a story behind it. Okay, you notice the tin on it. Well, there wasn't any tin. There wasn't even an end on this barn. It had all rotted and rusted, and we bought this farm. That old barn was here, and this is called the Johnny Boy. This is called the Johnny Boy farm. No, back up. Johnny Boy's next door. This is called Happy. This is called the Happy Buckler farm. And Dad always called it, you know, that's what they called it. The old timers, when you bought a farm, well, that's the old Happy Buckler place. Well, heck, I don't know who Happy Buckler is. But Dad did. And my mom did. And my mom and Dad moved here in the late 40s, up at Rucker, right after World War II. And I was talking to Mom about a lot of the old timers that lived around here, and there was a lot of old timers that were drunks. That's all they did. They just drank. They'd work a little bit for a farmer, get a bottle, and just get on a drunk. One of our old friends, Fred White, nicest guy you ever met when he was sober. When he was drunk, you did not want to be around him. He was just a belligerent drunk. But I gotta back up and tell you the history of why there's so many drunks. I personally heard Fred White's story. Fred had the world by the end of the tail. He was going, man. Got married, had 2 kids, a new wife, and bought a 60-acre farm, had 8 to 10 cows on it, had a new vehicle, a nice vehicle, wasn't new, and he had a job in the coal mine. And he was making $15 to $20 a day. Most people were making 2, okay? But he had a wagon, a good team of mules, and they were hauling coal out of this little coal mine, selling it. Well, 1929 hit. The Wall Street crash. Fred lost his job. His wife died of appendicitis that same year, and his house burned down. Yep. That's a lot for a man to take. And he started drinking, and he told me it was 37 years he never took a sober breath. 37 years. And my Uncle Scott is the one that got him dried out. That's a whole nother story, but Happy Buckler was the same way. He lost his farm. He started drinking. And then I asked him, why did people call him Happy? Well, Mom said, well, Greg, every time you saw him, he had a big old grin on his face, and he'd chuckle, and he's drunk. You know, he's just in a constant state of being drunk. So he's always kind of a giggler, had a big old smile on his face. But unfortunately, he didn't live very long. You know, that's what alcohol will do to you. It'll kill you. Some people it doesn't. I know people that drank their whole life and up in their 90s, and it never hurt them. So it depends on your body, I guess. And I know people that can take one drink and lay it down and walk away not being worried about it. But I know other people that take one drink and they don't quit until that bottle's empty. But Jan gave me crap about this barn. She wasn't here. And Mose, our Amish fellow that works for us, and Mose said, Greg, there's some brand new metal out at the metal shop. It's got little dings in it. And he said, it's $1 a foot. Well, at that time, you could buy metal for about $3 a foot. Like, my gosh, a third of the cost, and it's brand new? Well, yeah. I said, let's get some of it. And so this end of the barn is facing away from the road. So you can't see it. And this barn did not have a door on it either. Mose framed us up a nice door. And this barn is full of square bales. So when we get up sheep to sell, cattle to sell, Jan's riding horse Misty, bedding, well, you name it, there's square bales in there. And I have a guy, that's what he does, he sells square bales. And I have him fill that little thing every year. But I'll show you the other end of it. It looks a little prettier. The end facing the road. I laugh at it every time I see it. See, this end looks good. It's all one color. But Mose did that in one day, framed it up, took the old tin, what was there off. All the old boards are rotten, reframed it, studded it, put doors on it. Well, we got a nice barn. Didn't have that before. I'm telling you, the birds are just crazy this morning. If you look at the energy that we're intercepting from the sunlight this morning, all the plants, you look across over there, the neighbor has disked that and sprayed it with glyphosate and ripped the soil open, and that ground is not harvesting any solar energy. And yet we hear from the professionals, you just can't grow food on land unless you work it. You know, you gotta have all this technology to rip the soil open, put in the GMO seeds and all that stuff. And I'm saying no. Let's get it back to grass. And I'm not gonna say we don't have to have some grains. We do, but I don't think we need to feed, 70% of the grain we produce goes through a ruminant animal. That's ridiculous. When cattle can eat this. They're herbivores, they're not grainivores. And they do pretty darn good on it. And at the end of the day, here's the best part. The farmer that's grazing it with his livestock, he's doing pretty good because he's not going broke buying all this expensive grain. And at the end of the day, the landscape is intercepting more energy, more solar energy, because we don't have that bare ground. Folks, we got 4.5 inches of rain last 12 days. I promise you, the rain that hit that crop field out there ran off. That's because it doesn't have any organic matter in it. I've got pictures of it where it comes off. And the water coming off that field is brown. It's just brown. He's losing his topsoil. But what do you do? Gotta let them learn. This is what I like. Look at that. There's clover. We've never sowed any clover in here ever. I mean, you talk about diversity. Them bulls, when they hit this, they're gonna absolutely jump up and down. Here's a good one right here. That's a weed, but it is giant ragweed. And animals, sheep and cattle will knock you over to get that one. It's really palatable. It's got a lot of good nutrients in it. And I've seen livestock go to that before they will grass or clover. They'll eat that weed first. I shouldn't have picked it. Oh well. There's some more back there. Yeah, we've got some grass now. It's encouraging. It's kind of depressing for the first 2 months of spring flush. Like, where's my spring flush? We're not going to have one. And then the rains. Our prayers were answered, and you know, God is good, and I am so thankful that we got the rain. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign out of here. Everyone have a good one, and we'll see you down the road next time. Oh, hit that subscribe button on the way out if you would. Thank you.